The Tao is emptiness, yet using it up is impossible. Deep as an abyss, it seems as if it is the ancestor of everything. Attempt to file at its edges, unravel its confusion, soften its luster, gather its specks. It is deeply hidden, yet seems to be omnipresent. I do not know whose child it is, but it appears to have come before the emperor. So, we are finally back at the Tao Te Ching. Tao Te Ching. Other way around. We look at chapter 4 today. And I'm excited because, as you know, I made some other videos beforehand about the yin-yang, about men and women, about the family. But now we're back in talking about the famous Tao Te Ching. That's the way it's pronounced. So chapter 4. In this chapter, we have one topic and one topic only. So this chapter only talks about the Tao, about the big sea where everything rises from and where to everything returns. So that is my own definition of the Tao. You could say the Tao is God, but without a personification. Okay, so that's a way to put it. So this chapter 4 is about what is the Tao. And it starts with the Tao is emptiness, yet using it up is impossible. And this is a fascinating sentence, which makes a lot of sense, because the most fascinating thing about the Tao, of course, or about God, is that it's everywhere, and it's undoubtedly everywhere. Everywhere on the world, people can pray at the same time, and a lot of them will say that God is answering them, which means that the Tao is giving all the time. The Tao is communicating all the time. God is at the same time everywhere, talking to everyone, listening to everyone, looking at everything. And so the character which is used here in the Chinese, the second character in this phrase, so it's the character for Tao, and then comes the character for Chung. And Chung means to rinse or to pour water. And so that is what is meant. It's meant that the Tao is constantly giving, pouring, extracting something out of itself, but yet using it up is impossible. It's never empty. Okay? And that is that is definitely the case. Like one example, of course, for nature, which is a big part of the Tao, there is a saying, I think it's in a different chapter of the Tao Te Ching, where it says the Tao follows nature, as an example. So we can look at nature and see the Tao. And what is nature? Nature is absolute abundance. Nature is, if you let nature do what it does, like, I think that after 200 years, you won't find any, or almost, you won't find almost any traces of our civilization, because nature would just take over everything very, very fastly. Okay, so the Tao is constantly giving, and it's never used up. Okay, there is not a limit of persons who can pray at the same time. There's not a limit of persons. There's not a limit to the persons that can talk to God at the same time. And this is what is meant in the first line here. The Tao is emptiness, or the Tao is pouring all the time. The Tao is giving all the time, yet using it up is impossible. Second line, deep as an abyss, it seems as if it is the ancestor of everything. This line is almost is repeated in the last line in a way. But so deep as an abyss, that is also a characterization of you won't find the bottom. It's so deep that, yeah, it never ends. It has no end. And it seems as if it is the ancestor of everything, which means, of course, the Tao is the sea, is the universe, is that what comes before, that was in fact the ancestor of everything. Okay, that is the God in Christianity, the God that says, "Let there be light." Okay, the God who created the world, who created the universe, everything. It seems as if it is the ancestor of everything. Okay. Third line, attempt to file at its edges, unravel its confusion, soften its luster, gather its specks. Okay, what does that mean? It means that we as human beings, we can try in different ways to put the Tao into a box, to make it feelable, to make it touchable, to make it understandable. Okay, we can try everything we can to gather the specks, soften its luster because it's too bright. We can barely see it. Unravel its confusion because the Tao is so complex. File at the edges, which means we can try to understand where it stops. But of course, it does not stop anywhere because it's the Tao. Okay, this is what is meant here. It's like, yeah, try to put it in a box. But the Tao, of course, as we know from the first chapter, is that which was before the names, before the words. And that means it's not possible to put it into a box. It's not possible to find the edges. Okay, that's what makes the Tao so great and so special. The Tao is everywhere. God is everywhere. You cannot you cannot narrow it down. Okay. Yeah, and then the next line, it is deeply hidden, yet seems to be omnipresent. This is just what I just described. It's deeply hidden because many like atheists would claim, I cannot see God, so he does not exist. But from a Taoist perspective, that is the joke. That is the point. It is deeply hidden, but at the same time, it's absolutely omnipresent. If you look for the Tao in things, in people, in the world, you will find it everywhere. If you don't look, or if you deny the existence of the Tao, you can do that. Then it's deeply hidden. You won't be able to find it. You won't be able to find it then. Okay, because that's the joke. Okay, that's the joke of the Tao. It's deeply hidden, but at the same time, it's omnipresent. And then comes the next line. I do not know whose child it is, but it appears to have come before the emperor. So, like I said, this line is almost the second line where it says it seems as if it is the ancestor of everything, and here it says it appears to have come before the emperor. So that's basically the same claim, and this is deep. To say I do not know whose child it is, which means, is there a father to the Tao? Is there a mother to the Tao? Well, obviously, no, because the Tao came before the words. The Tao came before the 10,000 things. The Tao came before. Okay, so I do not know whose child it is basically means there is no mother or father to God, obviously. Well, obviously, I guess it is that way. I do not know whose child it is, but it appears to have come before the emperor. And to understand this, you have to know that in ancient Chinese culture, the emperor was equal to God, was seen as being equal to the heavens. It was, well, as you could say, as the Pope, it was the incarnation of the heavenly will on earth. It was God in a human body. So the people worshipped the emperor as God or as a child of God. And so to say it appears to have come before the emperor means that it is more powerful than the emperor, because it's the mother or the father or both of the emperor, which is you could argue that was a dangerous claim at those times, okay? Because, well, it was, for example, like the normal people had to stop using words, using Chinese characters in their everyday language, because the name of the emperor contained those characters. Okay, that's how people respected or had to respect the emperor. Otherwise, they could be persecuted for that. Okay, so books had to be rewritten because they contained the name of the emperor. So that's the level of respect the people had for their emperor. And so to say something like it appears to have come before the emperor is not a cheap claim. It's a very serious claim. Like that, what we talk about is older, wiser, stronger, more than even the emperor. Okay, so that is what we're talking about here. This is deep. This is important. Okay, yeah. So those are my thoughts on the 4th chapter of the Tao Te Ching, and yeah, it's a very, very deep chapter and gives us an idea of what we're talking about when we talk about the Tao, which we talk about God from a Taoist perspective. Okay, when we talk about the sea where everything comes from and where everything will go to in the end. I hope you like it. If you liked it, please feel free to subscribe to my channel if you want to see more of this kind of content, and enjoy my other videos. See you. Bye-bye. One thing. At this point, I want to thank Andrew Nugent Hat for letting me use his translation of the Tao Te Ching for this podcast. Thank you.